The truth about human desire is uncomfortable. People don't choose who loves them most. They choose who they perceive as most valuable, most scarce, most emotionally grounded. In a world where everyone is competing for attention, fighting for validation, desperately trying to be chosen, the person who stands apart isn't the one who tries hardest. It's the one who understands the invisible psychology that governs every human heart. You see, the moment you start chasing someone's approval, you've already lost. The moment you make yourself completely available, you become invisible. The moment you expose every part of yourself, you lose the mystery that drew them to you in the first place. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding the deeper currents of human psychology and positioning yourself not as someone who needs to be chosen, but as someone who chooses. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The strongest psychological position you can occupy is the one where your worth isn't determined by whether someone picks you. When you operate from this place of inner security, something fascinating happens. You become magnetic not because you're trying to attract, because you're genuinely detached from the outcome. The first principle of becoming chosen is mastering emotional detachment. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means developing the ability to remain centered regardless of how someone responds to you. When you're emotionally detached, you stop reacting to their moods, their tests, their games. You become like water, flowing around obstacles without being disturbed by them. This composure is deeply attractive because it signals that you're not dependent on their validation for your emotional stability. Most people leak emotional energy constantly. They respond immediately to texts. They get visibly affected by criticism. They change their behavior based on someone's approval or disapproval. But when you maintain emotional detachment, you become like a still lake, while everyone else is choppy waves. People are drawn to stillness because it feels safe and powerful at the same time. The second principle is creating scarcity through strategic silence. Silence is one of the most powerful tools in the psychological arsenal, yet most people are terrified of it. They fill every gap in conversation. They explain themselves excessively. They're always available. But scarcity creates value. You're not always there, when you don't always respond immediately. When you leave space between your words and actions, you create a vacuum that the other person's mind naturally wants to fill. Seneca understood this when he wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Your absence creates space for their imagination to work. When you're not constantly present, they start to wonder what you're doing, who you're with, what you're thinking. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about understanding that your attention is valuable, and valuable things are not given freely to everyone. The third principle is using unpredictability to build intrigue. Human beings are pattern-seeking creatures. We feel comfortable when we can predict someone's behavior, but we're also bored by it. When you're completely predictable, you become like background noise. But when you introduce elements of unpredictability into your interactions, you keep their mind engaged and curious. This doesn't mean being erratic or unreliable. It means being consistent in your core values while varying your responses and approaches. Sometimes you're warm and engaging. Sometimes you're distant and mysterious. Sometimes you're available. Sometimes you're busy with your own pursuits. This variation keeps them guessing and maintains their interest, because they can never quite figure you out completely. The fourth principle is reflecting their desires with mystery. People are drawn to those who seem to understand them on a deep level, but who also maintain an air of mystery about themselves. This creates a powerful psychological dynamic where they feel seen and understood, but they also feel compelled to know more about you. You become like a mirror that reflects their deepest desires while keeping your own depths hidden. When you listen carefully to what someone really wants, not just what they say they want, and then embody those qualities while maintaining your own mystery, you become irresistible. You're giving them a taste of what they crave while keeping them hungry for more. This requires emotional intelligence and self-control, but the effect is profound. The fifth principle is never overexposing yourself. In our age of social media and constant communication, there's a tendency to share everything, to be completely open and vulnerable from the beginning. But psychological research shows that mystery and gradual revelation are far more powerful than immediate transparency. When you reveal everything about yourself too quickly, you eliminate the discovery process that creates emotional investment. Think of yourself as a book that reveals one chapter at a time. Each interaction should give them a glimpse into who you are, but never the complete picture. This keeps them engaged and invested because they're always learning something new about you. The moment they feel they know everything about you is the moment they start losing interest. The sixth principle involves triggering subconscious comparisons. Human beings are constantly comparing options, even when they're not consciously aware of it. When you position yourself as someone who has choices, who is valued by others, who doesn't need any particular person to validate your worth, you trigger their competitive instincts. They start to see you as a prize worth winning rather than someone who's desperately trying to win them. This isn't about making them jealous or playing manipulative games. It's about genuinely building a life where you have options, where you're valued by multiple people, where you're not dependent on any single person for your happiness or validation. When this is your genuine reality, it naturally communicates itself through your energy and behavior. The seventh principle is subtly mirroring value. People are attracted to those who reflect their own values and desires, but who also challenge them to grow. This requires careful observation and emotional intelligence. You need to understand what they truly value, not just what they say they value, and then demonstrate those qualities in your own life while maintaining your authenticity. When you mirror someone's deepest values while also challenging them to become better, you create a powerful psychological bond. They see in you both familiarity and growth potential. You become someone who understands them while also inspiring them to become more than they currently are. The eighth principle is showing composure when they test you. People unconsciously test those they're interested in to see how they respond under pressure. These tests come in many forms. They might be late, they might be cold or distant, they might mention other people they're interested in, they might criticize you or challenge your opinions. How you respond to these tests determines whether you pass or fail in their subconscious evaluation. Epictetus taught that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. When you respond to tests with composure, understanding, and unshakable self-confidence, you demonstrate that you're not easily rattled or controlled. This composure is deeply attractive because it signals emotional maturity and inner strength. The ninth principle is becoming the emotional reward they crave. Every human being has emotional needs that they're trying to fulfill through their relationships. Some people crave security, others crave excitement, others crave validation or understanding. When you can identify and fulfill these deeper emotional needs while maintaining your own boundaries and self-respect, you become irreplaceable in their life. This isn't about becoming whatever they want you to be. It's about understanding what emotional experience they're seeking and providing it in a way that's authentic to who you are. When you can make someone feel truly seen, understood, and emotionally fulfilled, they won't want to look elsewhere. The 10th principle involves mastering the art of strategic withdrawal. Sometimes the most powerful move is to step back and let them come to you. When you withdraw your attention and energy, you create space for them to realize what they might be losing. This withdrawal must be genuine, not a manipulative tactic. You must be genuinely busy with your own life, your own goals, your own pursuits. When you have a rich, fulfilling life outside of your relationship with them, your periodic withdrawal doesn't feel like punishment or manipulation. It feels like you're someone who has priorities and boundaries, someone who values their own time and energy. This commands respect and often triggers them to pursue you more actively. The 11th principle is demonstrating inner abundance. People are drawn to those who seem to have an internal source of happiness and fulfillment. When you're not looking to them to complete you or make you happy, when you're genuinely content with your own life, you become magnetic. This inner abundance is the opposite of neediness, and it's one of the most attractive qualities a person can possess. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." When you're fully present in your own life, pursuing your own goals, finding joy in your own experiences. You radiate an energy that draws people to you. You become someone who adds value to other people's lives, rather than someone who needs others to add value to yours. The final principle is understanding that being chosen isn't about becoming perfect or irresistible to everyone. It's about becoming the right choice for the right person. When you operate from a place of genuine self-worth, emotional intelligence, and strategic thinking, you naturally attract people who appreciate and value what you have to offer. The person who chooses you should be someone who sees your worth, respects your boundaries, and values your presence in their life. If someone doesn't choose you despite your best efforts, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's simply information about compatibility and timing. Remember, the strongest position you can occupy is the one where you're happy to be chosen. But you don't need to be chosen to be complete. When you genuinely embody this mindset, when you build a life that's fulfilling and meaningful regardless of any particular person's presence in it, you become irresistible not because you're trying to be, but because you're genuinely worth choosing. The masters of human psychology understand that attraction isn't about force or manipulation. It's about positioning yourself as someone of value while maintaining the mystery and emotional intelligence that keeps people engaged. It's about being grounded enough in your own worth that you can remain calm and centered while others are reactive and emotional. You don't win love by force. You win it by standing still. While everyone else chases, make them choose you. Not because you're available, but because you're unforgettable. In a world full of people desperately trying to be chosen, be the one who chooses. Be the one who knows their worth. Be the one who understands that the greatest attraction comes not from needing someone, but from being someone worth needing. When you master these principles, you don't just become someone who gets chosen. You become someone who gets to choose.